New Orleans, many of the first responders were also victims of the storm. The same was true of local politicians, some of whom put their constituents' welfare ahead of their own, and some who did not. Here's ABC's Jake Tapper with one such story.
Friday, September 2nd. 5 days after Katrina struck, President Bush visited New Orleans for the first time, and large-scale rescue efforts were finally underway. Residents who had been on the roofs for days were being rescued by Coast Guard and other helicopters. Amidst this controlled chaos, enter Congressman William Jefferson, who represents New Orleans in the U.S. Congress. An 8-term Democrat and senior member of the powerful Ways and Means Committee, Jefferson was that night let through the military blockade set up around the city and arrived at the Superdome. Jefferson has a house here on Marengo Street in the affluent uptown neighborhood of the city. As part of a federal investigation reportedly into Jefferson's dealings with a high-tech company in Virginia, last month FBI officials raided this house, as well as Jefferson's home in Washington, D.C., his car, and his accountant's house. Jefferson has not commented, except to say he's cooperating with the investigation. But he has emerged as a major voice in the post-Katrina political debate.
Hundreds of thousands of my constituents have been uprooted from their homes. More than 100,000 businesses have been shuttered, and possibly thousands of lives have been lost to the wrath of Hurricane Katrina.
But military sources tell ABC News that amidst the post-flood madness that night, Jefferson wanted to check on his property and rescue his personal belongings, even while New Orleans residents were trying to get rescued from rooftops.
Everyone wanted to know the condition of their neighborhood. I did, like everybody else.
ABC News has learned that on the night of September 2nd, the National Guard took Congressman Jefferson on a tour of the flooded areas of his congressional district. A 5-ton military truck and at least a half-dozen military police were dispatched. According to Lieutenant Colonel Pete Schneider of the Louisiana National Guard, while on the tour, Jefferson requested that the truck take him to his home, which is in the district. According to Schneider, that was not part of the initial request. The water was up to the 3rd step of Jefferson's house, a military source familiar with the incident tells ABC News. So the Army truck pulled up onto Jefferson's front lawn, so he wouldn't have to walk in the water. Jefferson went into the house alone, the source says, while the soldiers waited on the porch for about an hour. Finally, Jefferson emerged with a laptop computer, 3 suitcases, and a box about the size of a small refrigerator, which the enlisted men loaded up into the truck.
Like everybody else, I left town with 3 days worth of provisions. I had daughters going away to school. They had suitcases at the house they wanted me to pick up. I picked those up and sent them to their mother.
I don't think there's any explanation for an elected official using resources for their own personal use.
According to the Louisiana National Guard, having waited for Jefferson, the truck was stuck and could not drive off. You can still see tire tracks in the front of his yard 2 weeks later.
Believe me, that was water up to the waist. I wasn't walking in waist-deep water. The soldiers were equipped for that. They went down the street looking for people, and I waited for them until they returned.
The soldiers signaled to helicopters in the air for a rescue. A pilot aboard a Coast Guard helicopter already containing 4 rescued locals saw the signal and flew to Jefferson's home. A rescue diver descended from the helicopter onto this 3rd-floor porch of the home and broke into these French windows.
A helicopter guy came over, saw the commotion, thought there was a need to rescue somebody, and we kept waving him off, but he still landed and kicked in my part of my house up front.
The congressman expressed interest in going up in the helicopter, then decided against it, sources say. The rescue diver returned to the chopper, but the Coast Guard pilot sent him down again to the house to make sure the congressman did not want to come with them. He did not. After spending approximately 45 minutes with Congressman Jefferson, the helicopter was able to rescue 3 other New Orleans residents before running low on fuel and having to end its mission. Asked about that night, a Coast Guard spokesman told ABC News, "I can't comment on why the congressman decided not to go in the aircraft. Did it take a little more time to send the rescue swimmer back a second time? Yes. You'd have to ask the congressman if it was a waste of time or not." The Louisiana National Guard then sent a second 5-ton truck to rescue the first truck, a mission that was successful. Congressman Jefferson and his personal items were returned to the Superdome. Asked if the soldiers had any feelings about that mission, Lieutenant Colonel Schneider of the Louisiana National Guard told ABC News, "I don't know if they resented it or not, They were soldiers on a mission, and they were doing their mission.
I seek the use of military assets to help me get around my city. There was shooting going on. There was sniping going on. They thought I needed to be secured by some military guards.
Meanwhile, last week, just a few days after Hurricane Katrina devastated his home city, Congressman Jefferson set up a special trust fund for contributions to his legal defense, in light of his being a target of the FBI corruption probe. A senior law enforcement official tells ABC News that investigators are interested in learning whether Jefferson removed any materials relevant to that probe. Jefferson says he did not. I'm Jake Tapper for Nightline.